Welcome to This Explainer. You know, we often pictured the world before the internet, heck, even before commercial flight, as this vast, disconnected place. We assume communication moved at an absolute snail's pace, right? Well, today we're diving into the surprisingly efficient, highly bureaucratic, and deeply interconnected journey of a single piece of international mail, sent all the way back in 1895. We're going to look at the hard data, the physical documents, and the precise institutional paths to figure out exactly how this happened. So let's jump right in. Let's start with a really simple premise. How long did international mail actually take in 1895? You'd probably assume it took months and months for a simple paper message to cross continents during the Victorian era. I mean, without the digital networks or airmail infrastructure we completely take for granted today, the logistical hurdles just seem insurmountable to our modern minds. But the reality of the 19th century bureaucratic apparatus? It might actually shock you. It definitely shocked me when I first looked at the data. And we actually have the exact timeline for this, preserved in a remarkable historical account. It acts almost like a rare treasure map, giving us this precise data. The journey we're tracking is detailed in a book called Islam in Victorian Liverpool, an Ottoman account of Britain's first mosque community, written by Yusuf Sami Azmeh. It's thanks to Azmeh's careful documentation that we have the exact dates and the institutional checkpoints of a very specific, incredibly ambitious piece of correspondence. It gives us this perfect, documented window into a really remarkable cross-cultural connection.
So our story starts in Liverpool, England, on August 3, 1895. On this late summer day, right in the middle of that bustling port city atmosphere of Victorian England, a woman named Nafisa Keep sat down and wrote a letter. And what's fascinating is that we don't even need historical portraits or drawings of the people involved to picture this. The official paper trail alone paints a massive picture. She wasn't just writing a quick note to a neighbor. She was prepping a document that was about to cross international borders, travel over land and sea, and navigate one of the most sprawling empires of the era. And her destination really illustrates the sheer scale of her ambition. She wasn't just writing to a local official or even a regional governor. Her letter was addressed directly to the Caliph himself, Sultan Abdul Hamid II. Just take a second to think about the staggering geographical and cultural distance between a writing desk in working-class Liverpool and the palatial desk of the Sultan in Istanbul. The sheer logistical weight of that intent is absolutely enormous. How does a single piece of mail actually cross that vast divide without just getting lost in the shuffle of history?
Well, to understand how her letter got there, we have to look at the Ajasat. That's the term for the complex and highly efficient Ottoman state institutions that the letter passed through. The Ajasat was this highly structured bureaucratic machine. It wasn't just some haphazard relay of mail carriers on horseback hoping for the best, It was a strict, defined series of governmental bodies deliberately designed to process information from the very outer edges of the globe all the way to the absolute center of Ottoman power. And this created a really precise four-step chain of command. First, the Ottoman consulate. Second, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Third, the Grand Vizier. And fourth, the Sultan himself. It literally acts exactly like a modern package tracking system. When you order something online today, you watch it hit the regional facility, then the local hub, and then it goes out for delivery. This 1895 system is doing the exact same thing, but it's filtering through the very highest echelons of the Ottoman government.
Now, what is truly fascinating is watching the exact dates unfold as the letter travels from the UK to modern-day Turkey. We have hard, historical data for every single major jump in the chain. August 3rd, August 6th, August 19th, and August 23rd. Let's actually break this down step by step to really appreciate just how incredibly efficient this 19th century mail tracker was.
First up, leaving Liverpool. Nafisa sends her initial letter to the Ottoman Consul General at the consulate in Liverpool on August 3rd. By August 6th, the Consul General processes this letter and forwards it right out of the UK. That is a turnaround time of just 3 days. Think about that for a moment. In just 3 days, an international consulate receives a letter from a citizen, officially evaluates its importance, and dispatches it out of the country toward the empire's capital. So, that brings us to the most crucial phase of this journey, this 2-week international transit window. From August 6th to August 19th, the letter makes its massive geographical leap. It travels all the way from England to modern-day Turkey, successfully reaching the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Ottoman Empire. That is 13 days to cross the entire European continent and the Mediterranean region, moving hand-to-hand, ship-to-shore, right into the official government intake of the empire. Then we reach the inner circle of power. On August 19th, the Minister of Foreign Affairs forwards the letter to the Grand Vizier. To give you some context here, the Grand Vizier is effectively the Prime Minister of the empire. He's the Sultan's absolute right hand.
And the Grand Vizier doesn't just sit on this paperwork. He doesn't just leave it in his inbox. On August 23rd, he takes the letter and delivers it directly into the hands of Sultan Abdul Hamid. From the ministry to the Grand Vizier to the Sultan, the highest executive branch of the Ottoman Empire, processed in just 4 days.
And that brings us to a truly staggering number: 20 days. The whole shebang, the entire journey, starting from a woman's desk in Liverpool, navigating international borders, crossing land and sea, and filtering through the strict hierarchy of the imperial adjihats, took roughly 3 weeks. Exactly 20 days from August 3rd to August 23rd.
Comparing our modern assumptions of Victorian-era isolation against the reality of this highly structured, rapid Ottoman bureaucratic network is a real eye-opener, isn't it? We tend to view the past through this lens of technological superiority, kind of assuming that without our modern tools, things simply didn't work, or at least worked incredibly slowly. But looking at these institutional tracking steps, from the consulate to the ministry to the vizier to the caliph, we see a world that was already deeply intertwined and administratively optimized.
Which brings us to our final takeaway. If a single letter could cross empires and reach the desk of a caliph in just 3 weeks back in 1895, how connected was the 19th century world, really? It completely challenges everything we think we know about the speed of history. The administrative connections that bridged the world back then were robust, they were incredibly well documented, and they were remarkably fast. So next time you complain about a package taking a week to arrive, just remember Nafisa keeps 20-day delivery to the Sultan. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep questioning what you think you know about the past.